Morning, how y'all doing? I got a word for today. Good morning, good morning, good morning, my beautiful people, beautiful ladies and handsomely beautiful gents. Y'all, I am back again, and surely all is well. I know I haven't been on here the last 2 Sundays, but I haven't been on because I actually picked up a new job, and this job requires me to work on the weekends, and also requires me to work for 12 hours. So I want to stop right here and give a shout out to all the people who have been working 12 hours, because it's something else. I mean, 12 hours, that's a long time, and it tires me out. And then at the time that I have to go to work, it caused me to have to go so early that I haven't been able to get on. So that's why you haven't seen me, but I'm here this morning. Good morning, Mama Mary. And I do have a word for y'all today. You know, just because I haven't gotten on doesn't mean that God hasn't given me a word. He's still been giving me a word. I just haven't been able to get on, as I said, because I have this new job, 12 hours. And it just doesn't allow me the time to get on. But I'm here today on vacation. If I wasn't on vacation, I would have been working today. But here I am. And one of the words that God gave me, it was about 2 weeks ago, I want to say 2 weeks ago, when I wasn't able to get on. And my family, one of my family members was going through something. And when they told me about what was going on, it angered me. Now, I know some may be saying, she get angry. Yeah, I get angry. I'm human. You know, even Jesus got angry. And I'm going to tell you something about that too. But it angered me. And I got so upset. And, you know, as it says in the word, it says that, you know, it's okay to be angry, but don't let the sun go down on your wrath. And so here I am, and I begin to question. I'm like, why, God? Why is this going on? Why are they saying these things? And all of a sudden, God said this to me, y'all. He said, they constipated. I said, constipated? God, constipated. See, if y'all know something about constipation, if you ever experience constipation, you know that it is something that it is not no fun. You know, I experienced constipation when I was pregnant with my daughter. It was the first time I ever experienced it. I didn't know what was going on. All I knew is that my stomach was hurting, and I hadn't even paid any attention that I haven't had a bowel movement. Some people may be like, this nasty today, but sometimes you have to get nasty with the word. It's just how God gave it to me. And so, like I said, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I became constipated. But at that moment, I didn't know I was constipated because I had never experienced it. All I knew I was having these headaches, and my stomach was bloated. And all of a sudden, when I found out what was going on, I was saying, oh, that's the reason. See, constipation, if you haven't ever experienced it, is when you don't have a bowel movement for a certain amount of days. And because you don't pass any of the fecal matter that's built up on the inside of you, the stool on the inside of you begins to harden. And when it begins to harden, it causes your bowel movement. It causes you not to be able to have a bowel movement. Good morning to you, Asia. Good morning. And so what it does, it hardens, and it causes you, like I said, not to be able to have a bowel movement. So in return, you may get headaches. Your blood pressure may begin to go up. Your stomach becomes distended, meaning it swells up. You just feel really sick. And the thing about constipation is, if you don't end up having a bowel movement soon enough, if it doesn't come out one way, unfortunately, y'all, it comes out the other way. I've seen it happen. And so like I said, God telling me that they're constipated. They're constipated. I said, okay, God, so break this thing down to me. So now that you know what constipation is, this how God gave it to me, how he said we're spiritually constipated. He said that a lot of times we're spiritually constipated. He said we're constipated, meaning that we're blocked up. We're filled up with hate. We're filled up with anger. We're filled up with malice. We're filled up with loss of hope. He said nothing can pass. Joy can't pass. Happiness can't pass. Blessings can't pass. Your breakthrough can't pass because you're spiritually constipated. And see, when you're spiritually constipated, you don't feel good. And when you don't feel good, like they said, misery loves company. You know, you try to pass on the misery. So the topic for today is spiritually constipated. Okay, now, I work in the field of nursing. So what we do, especially when you work in the nursing homes or something of that nature, what you do, you always monitor. They have a guideline where you have to monitor your residents' bowel movements. So they have this thing, most of them, if you don't have a bowel movement within 3 days, then a protocol is going to have to be taking place. And the protocol is you're going to have to give something to cause constipation. the constipation to be relieved. Now I hit up my friend today. I was like, can you tell me what's that stat protocol that you do, that you use, that you write to relieve constipation? And I found out that for different, facilities, the order is different. But when I worked at a surf facility, it had a 3-step. What you would do, the first step, when somebody haven't had a bowel movement in 3 days, the first step you would write out an order for Dulcolax or either Colace. And if the Colace wasn't effective by a certain amount of time, then you would give Dulcolax. If the Dulcolax wasn't effective, then you would give a fleet enema. And see, a fleet enema, I don't know if y'all ever tried those, but it really cleans you out. Now, the fleet enema, if that doesn't work, then the last option is to go manual. You have to manually disinfect. And see, that's what God has to do for us sometimes. See, a lot of times things doesn't work. Prayer, it doesn't work. Prayer for having other people pray for us, it doesn't work. Getting down and, asking the Lord to help us, it doesn't work. So God has to step in on his own. He steps in manually, and he steps in and he disinfects the constipation. He relieves us. See, here's what God showed me. See, there's some things you can do in order to stop from being constipated. There's some things that you can do to maintain from being constipated. It's like a bowel movement management. And what you can do, you can have a special diet. You can make sure you stay hydrated, meaning you drink waters. And the thing that God showed me today, he said, I'm the living water. See, the thing is with the living water, if you get dehydrated, and a lot of times your stool will become hardened. And spiritually, like I said, we're spiritually constipated. But God said, if you get me, if you get the living water, if you get me, he said, I'll make it where you'll always be able to have things flowing. He said, I'll make it where you always have things flowing. And he said, here's another thing, you have to maintain your diet. See, with constipation, you have to be careful of what you eat, because if you change your diet, then whatever you're eating can cause you to be constipated. But God said, but one of the things that we have to eat, they always say, eat your fiber. And guess what God showed me today? He said, I'm the bread of life. See, bread is fiber, and I love me some bread physically. I love me some cornbread, but I also love my spiritual bread. I love me some God. I love me some Jesus. And he said, if you get the bread of life, you won't have to worry about any constipation. Are you spiritually constipated this morning? Or are you around somebody that is spiritually constipated? Every time you come around, they're talking negative. It's because they're constipated. Every time you turn around, they're always, down and sad. They're never happy. It's because they're constipated. See, Satan, he's the one causing the constipation. He's the one causing the obstruction. He's the one causing things not to come to pass. See, you don't have the living water. You don't have the bread of life. But God said, if you will only just get me, he said, I'll make it where you'll be able to pass. And you need some things to pass today. If you need some things to pass today, then you need to get the living water. If you need some things to pass today, then you need to get the bread of life. He said, he that get me shall never hunger, and they shall never thirst. And he told me this. He said, he that get me, I'll never be constipated. Are you spiritually constipated this morning? Are you spiritually constipated this morning? See, God took me to the two words in the Bible. And the first one was James 4:7, where he says, submit yourself to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee. See, basically submit means to get or accept. So when you get God, you can resist the devil. What he showed me, if you don't have God, then you're going to be spiritually constipated. Satan is going to overrule. But he said, when you get me, you can resist the devil and he will flee. When you get me, you don't have to worry about being blocked or obstructed. When you get me, you don't have to worry about Satan coming in and messing up anything. He said, because I make it where things be able to flow freely. And the second word he took me to was in Mark 11. And it starts at verse 12 when they was going to Bethany, Jesus and he had Peter with him and some of the disciples. And when he went in, it says that he went into the temple. And but before he got in the temple, it says that he was hungry, and he came upon this fig tree. And when he looked at the fig tree, he reached out to grab some fruit from it. But when he went for the fig tree, it didn't have any fruit on it. All it had was leaves. And see, Jesus said then to that tree, he said, may no one ever eat any fruit from you again. That's what he said. He said, may no one ever eat any fruit from you again. And so then he went in the temple. So when he got in the temple, all of a sudden he seen some things going on that he didn't like. He seen that they was buying in the temple and selling in the temple. And Jesus got mad. He went in there. He began to throw over tables. It tells us that he overturned the tables and the seats of the people who were selling there. And then he said, this is supposed to be a house of prayer. And he said, you made it into, I want to say it right. He said, this is supposed to be a house of prayer, but you made it a den of robbers. Good morning, Miss Ruby. Good morning. Happy Sunday to you. He said, this supposed to be, the temple is supposed to be a house of prayer, but you made it a den of robbers. And so because all that Jesus done, and because he was what he was speaking in the temple, they became afraid of him and they wanted to kill him. But it didn't happen. And it tells us that the next morning when they left the temple, that they passed that fig tree and they found that it was withered up. And Peter looked at the tree and he said, Rabbi, look. He said, the fig tree that you cursed has withered up. And this is the main scripture what Jesus showed me, what God showed me. Jesus said to Peter, he said, have faith in God. He said, truly I say to you, whoever, in some translation it say anyone. He said, whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believe that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. See, what I'm trying to tell you this morning is God said all you got to do is speak. See, what I told you about is spiritual constipation. You got some blockage. You got some instruction. You've been praying and you've been hoping and you've been fasting. You've been weary and you've been crying and you've been struggling and you've been striving and you said, God, I need you to move. But God said you can't move because you won't even speak. See, God, I told you, he told me two things that you need, the living water and the bread of life to stop constipation. And the last thing he told me that you need, he said you need to have faith in your word to be able to speak. He said, but in order to be able to speak and it happens, as it says in James 4 again, you got to get God. And when you get him, Satan will flee. Is anybody spiritually constipated this morning? Spiritually constipated. Blocked up with hate, so love can't pass. Blocked up with sadness and depression, so happiness can't pass. You're blocked up with defeat, so your victory can't pass. You blocked up. You're blocked up in hardship, so your prevail can't pass. But God says, I want to loose some things for you this morning. He says, I want to break some things for you this morning. Like I said, when somebody is physically constipated and the last option you have is to go manually disinfect them, you have to put on a glove. And it's nasty. You have to put on a glove and you have to go in and you have to literally go up the rectal cavity and break it up. And you have to tell them, you have to say push. And while they're pushing, you have to begin to break up the fecal matter that's in there and you begin to clean it out so you can help them. God wants to do that for us this morning. He said he wants to come in and he wants to break up some things so that your breakthrough can begin to pass, so that your blessings can begin to pass, so that your prayers that you've been praying for so long can begin to pass, so that your hopes can begin to pass. He's ready to move. But again, in order for him to move, you got to get the living water. You got to have the diet with the bread of life. And you got to begin to speak. And one of the songs that God gave me for this was from the Gospel Imperials. We're called Move, Satan. Move, Satan. See, he's trying to bind you with sickness so you can't declare your health. But you need to declare this morning that I'm going to have you move, Satan. Say, because I got God. I'm feeding on God. And I'm speaking right now to saying, move, Satan. See, every time I try to do right, every time I try to treat my neighbor right, every time I try to help someone along the way, Satan gets right back in my way. I need you to move. Satan, I need you to move. Satan, I want you to move, move. Satan, oh, get back out of my way. I like when he say this. Every time I look around, Satan's always trying to bring a Christian down. Every time I try to do my very best, there's the time I find my heart is chest, but I need you to move. Satan, I need you to move. Oh, Satan, I want you to move. You got to move, Satan. Oh, get back out of my way. I need you to get back out of my way. I need you to move. Satan, get out of my church. Satan, get out of my home. Satan, get out of my mind. Satan, I don't need you on my job. I need you to move, Satan. Get out of my way. Oh, Satan, we don't want you here. We don't need you here. I need you to move. I need you to move. Just say, get back out of my way. Oh, get back out of my way. Oh, get back out of my way. See, God is able to move. And when you got God, again, I told you, when you got God, you are able to make Satan move. See, he wants you to be constipated. He wants you to be bloated. He wants you to be distended. He wants you to be sick. He wants you to be held up. He don't want any blessings for you. He don't want any breakthroughs for you. He don't want you to give God the praise. He don't want you to give God any thanks. He don't want God to get any glory. So he's stepping in. But remember the story of Job. When he came in, he told God, he said, I can make Job curse you. And God said, he'll never curse me. Satan did everything. Took his family, had his friends talking about him. They was good friends, but they talked about him. They was like, what did you do to cause all this to happen to you? Took his health. He had bars on his head, from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet. His own wife was against him and saying, just go ahead and curse God. He had some obstruction going on, but he knew God. He had the living water. He ate the bread of life. He even wished he wasn't born. But again, because he knew God, because he had God, he had the living water, he ate upon the bread of life, and he never spoke against his God. When the constipation was over, the blessings came through. It tells us that Job got double for the trouble. See, God is ready to give you twice as much. God is ready to give you something. God is ready to give you something, but you got to get rid of the spiritual constipation. Get rid of it. Drink your water. Just like our body needs real water, we need to stay hydrated. Our spirit needs the living water. We got to stay hydrated so that we won't become spiritually constipated. Just like our body needs food to thrive. You need fiber so that you can maintain your bowel movements. God says, I'm the real fiber. I'm the bread of life. And then this thing right here, we got to learn how to speak some things. We got to tell him like Jesus told him, get thee behind me, Satan. See, he want to take over. He wants you to be constipated. But God says, I want you to be delivered. I want you to be free. So my question to you this morning is, are you spiritually constipated? And if you are, then there's something you can do about it. Get God. Drink of the living water and feed on the bread of life. And don't forget, use this. Use your mouth. Because it tells us in the word, life and death. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And they that eat of it. So are you eating the right things? Because if you're eating it, then you'll be able to speak it. Are you spiritually constipated? Are you spiritually constipated? And if you are, then now you have the protocol. You have the order. You know what to do to get rid of it. Get God. Drink of the living water. Eat the bread of life. And speak the word. There's power in your words. So be careful what you say. Because if you're not too careful, instead of it passing, it'll be blocked up. Don't block your blessings. Don't block your blessings this morning. Let them pass. That's my word for y'all today. The topic was spiritually constipated. Never thought God would have gave me a word like that. Never, but that's how you know it's God. But y'all have a happy Sunday. You know, like I said, I'm on vacation. I'm about to get ready to go to church. I'm going to start trying to tune in more. But it probably won't be on Sundays because, like I said, my job interferes with that. So it may be on Wednesday or Thursday, just whenever I'm off, and I come on and make sure I get His word to y'all. But again, y'all remember, beware of spiritual constipation. And to prevent spiritual constipation, make sure you always keep God. It's like they say you need, 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, or it may depends on your weight. You need God every day. Get Him every day so that you can prevent spiritual constipation. That's my word for the day. Y'all be blessed. Y'all have a happy Sunday. And until next time, just remember, get God. Blessings and love. Sharmaine.